Welcome back to another episode of Hail Yes, a Michigan football and basketball podcast by the Detroit Free Press. I am Andrew Burkle, of course, joined by our Michigan beat writer, Tony Garcia. And Tony, we're recording this on Tuesday, and finally feels like some fall weather here, huh? But just in time for a Tigers home playoff game in Detroit, of course.
Yeah, we were saying that it hadn't rained in 3 weeks in southeastern Michigan, and now it's been a gray, dreary day. I guess when people are listening to this, the Tigers will either be up 2-1 or down 2-1, right? I mean, it's big. It's a big game today.
Huge swing.
Duh. It's the middle of the ALDS. But if you think about it, in very quick baseball talk, I mean, all the other series are 2-0. Right? I mean, yes, the Dodgers are the team who stole 2 on the road, but the other 2, I mean, the Cubs lost both on the road and then the Yankees lost both on the road, right? I mean, so the Tigers are still in good position, and all you got to do, well, you want to just win both, take care of business. If you win one game, the worst case scenario is you have Tarek Skubal on the mound in a do or die game. And every single team would wants that opportunity, right? So take care of game 3, really put the M's behind the 8 ball, and then I'll get to go help out with our coverage in the ALCS. So let's do it.
And that's our Days of Roar. Hail Yes baseball talk for the day. As always, check out Evan and the podcast over there if you're interested in some baseball talk. But we're here to talk about some Michigan football. The Wolverines coming off a 24-10 comfortable win over Wisconsin, a little bit closer than you would want in the first half. It was 10-7 at the break. Not exactly an offensive clinic, but again, the theme just continues to be that Michigan is doing enough to win these games. And it's really, a very on-brand style of Michigan football.
Yeah. Frankly, at the it was a very ugly first half. Like, not bad. Both teams, and even through much of the third quarter. So each team touchdown to open the game. It was 7-7. It was 10-7 with 4 minutes left in the third. There was nothing doing for the vast majority of the game, but eventually Michigan is the better team and just wore Wisconsin down. Now, it should be noted, Wisconsin had their third string quarterback playing, right? So you would hope Michigan's defense, which is already dominant, would be dominant, and they were. After an opening drive touchdown, 8 punts, a pick, and then a field goal to end the game. That's about as good of a 10 consecutive possessions as you can have, frankly. They were great. They did exactly what you expected them to do. And then on offense, they certainly got things rolling in the second half. And really my first and one of the main takeaways I felt like is how much Andrew Marsh helped open up this passing game, right? So not to dislocate our shoulder, patting ourselves on the back, but we talked about it on the podcast last week. Andrew, did we not? Andrew Marsh is going to get some run in this game and probably won't give his spot back. And I think that's exactly what we saw. He had 4 grabs for 80 yards, and he really got the passing offense going. And that's when Donovan McCulley really took over. He had his best game in a Michigan uniform also. 6 catches, 112 yards, first touchdown, finally, 5 games in. McCulley finally gets in the end zone, but he showed just how dynamic he can be. Really, Michigan needed just that second true pass catching threat in order to take a little attention off him, right? There was just so much focus that, if you're a defense before that, it's like, all right, we'll make anybody who's not Donovan McCulley beat us. In the air, that is. And other than Marlon Klein week 1, nobody was able to do that. But now it feels like Michigan, these weapons are developing. McCulley, Marsh, Underwood just continuing to take steps, right? He's 18 of 27, career high 270 yards, a touchdown. He did fumble the ball once on the scramble, but he recovered it. So no turnovers, no interception-worthy throws. He has really been phenomenal at protecting the ball. A true freshman with 2 turnovers in 5 weeks when you played an Oklahoma defense and a Nebraska defense. Nebraska's team is not good, but their defense is pretty good. And so that was really definitely a job well done there. So, and then maybe we can get into Justice Haynes in a little bit, but Justice Haynes doing the Justice Haynes thing. You said it, Michigan. You made a great point pre-show, and I want you to elaborate on it now. Michigan knows what its identity is, which we have known. Michigan has had an identity. Last year, they kind of lost it. This year, they were forming it. Now, through 5 weeks, you can really see it come to fruition, and it's both sides of the ball. It's that complementary football that Michigan has had on.
Yeah, it's funny. The more this season goes on, weirdly, the more I'm thinking about last year, because in a lot of ways, this team is similar to the team last year, right? Dominant defense, front seven. I have a hard time saying this unit front seven is any worse than last year's front seven that had Kenneth Graham, Mason Graham on it, which is insane. And, of course, other guys, Josiah Stewart as well. Like, it's just a loaded NFL talent. Well, okay, well, those guys go out. It looks the exact same. And I keep thinking about last year's team because in a lot of ways, this team is the same style, but just with competent quarterback play at the top. And that changes everything, right? And what we were talking about pre-show is that as you look at the college football landscape this year, Michigan is one of a handful of teams who is not going to just remove themselves from the conversation, right? They're going to make somebody else remove them, whether that be USC this weekend or Ohio State or, Michigan State is maybe the only other, Maryland, someone on there if it gets a little fluky, but they're going to make you move them out of the way. And they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot or commit mistakes or lose games that they shouldn't. And that's the identity that Michigan had going back to really the start of the Jim Harbaugh era. Right away, they were competitive year in, year out outside of one season, and then they went to that next level. But they've kind of immediately got that right back in place. And in a 12-team playoff landscape, that's all you need to be. Get in the dance and see what happens. And I think Michigan is extremely well positioned for that right now. And a lot of it's going to come down to this game this weekend. But and we'll, of course, talk about that as well. But yeah, Michigan just continues to do what they have to do, right? And that means a lot. They have an identity. That means a lot in college football.
And I think now is a good time to give it out. So, I mean, we talk about the picks like late in every show to end every show. And so this is not a gambling sports podcast. This is a Michigan football and basketball podcast. But we like to give a little bit of advice here and there where we see opportunities. Right now, before this USC game, Michigan is plus 250 to make the college football playoff. So if you think that the Wolverines are going to beat USC, right now is the time to book that ticket, because if and when they do, they're going to be even money. That's going to be a minus 110 ticket, and you are losing all the juice. So essentially, I mean, it's kind of a 2-for-1, right? And if you're a soft gambler, like one of us on this podcast, I'm not saying who, it might be me, you could hedge it. You could play for the emotional hedge, right? So you could Michigan to make the college football playoff, USC money line this week. And then you got to stagger the units a little bit. Now I'm getting a little too bit into the weeds, but you could have something with only upside and no downside, right? You would lessen the upside, but you could really middle that spot pretty well. And even if they do lose, we'll get into it later, and they're not fully eliminated, but then the ticket will be even bigger, and they would have to run the table. What I want to say, last thing I want to say before we throw it back to you, this is what I've been calling all weekend, and I need to write about this. The pendulum swing game. This is the swing game that's upcoming. And I guess I'm getting ahead of myself because we're supposed to be wrapping up Wisconsin. But just looking at USC, this is the game where, I mean, your season goes one way or the other. Win, and you are on the inside track for that college football playoff. Lose, and you have to run the table. And like, you could have said that about, it feels like, of course that's true every week, but nobody thought they were going to lose to Wisconsin. I never thought they were going to lose to Nebraska. I mean, Central Michigan, give me a break. Oklahoma was a house money game, right? Like, losing that game, we were saying it at the time, it's like, it doesn't eliminate you from anything. Winning it puts you in the driver's seat, but losing it doesn't change anything. And I mean, you look at Michigan State, which can't get out of its own way. Washington, which did just have a really impressive win at Maryland. But I mean, I don't think anybody thinks they're going to come into Ann Arbor and win. Purdue.
Well, they just announced a kickoff. It's a noon kickoff at the Big House, right? Like, that could not work worse against Washington, right? So that's another thing working against.
Great point. 9 a.m. body clock time for Washington. Purdue, give me a break. Northwestern in Chicago might as well be a home game for Michigan. I mean, it's just Ohio State, right? So this is the week. And Michigan's doing some interesting things to prepare for it. We could get back to Wisconsin and wrap that up, but we'll talk about the rest in the USD portion of this.
Yeah, and I don't mind going short on Wisconsin because, like you said, there were some things we want to talk about. Obviously, the receivers stepping up and showing that they're actually going to be something that teams are going to have to game plan a little bit for. McCulley is a dynamic playmaker when it comes to jump balls, and really, he's a matchup nightmare, right? Is really what he's showing. And Marsh helps open that up for McCulley, make things a lot easier for him. But let's stay on this USC thing for one more second, because I think that in a way that the two pendulum games for the season weren't Oklahoma or Ohio State. The pendulum games were Nebraska and USC, because they already got through one of them. And now this second game is USC, because Oklahoma and Ohio State, you do, like you said, they're kind of house money, especially this year for Michigan with all of it's never going to be house money against Ohio State. I understand that. And Michigan, especially if they're coming in with a competent team, who's able to move the ball, unlike last year, like, they have every chance to, and they might even be favored against Ohio State. But still, if we're just talking college football playoff, and that is what determines if you can win the national championship or not, those are the two pendulum games that could swing the season. And now we're heading into another one where I think Michigan comes in playing really well and has a good chance to win. So yeah, we can get to more USC preview. I think we'll do that on the other side of the break. Just feed me some quick Wisconsin thoughts. We don't need to go too in depth here because it was kind of just one death by 1,000 cuts by Michigan, right? Like just kind of slow, painful death for Wisconsin.
I'll hit you with two back to back. One of these is not a new thought. It's just an elaboration of what we've been saying for weeks. Justice Haynes, we might not just be talking about the Doak Walker Award with Justice Haynes. He might, and I mean, Sharon Moore started the hype train this week, but statistically, and if Michigan continues to win, in a year where there hasn't been a dominant quarterback, where nobody's running away with the award, Justice Haynes could find himself in New York for the Heisman ceremony. We're not, this week upcoming is the halfway point. So are we getting ahead of ourselves? Yes, but it's just worth looking ahead and thinking about it. I mean, here are his ranks among power conference running backs. Third in rushing yards with 654. Second in yards per game at just shy of 101. Second in yards per carry, 7.7 yards. Fourth in touchdowns with 8. Seventh in yards after contact, 361, right? So not just a home run hitter, but breaking tackles and running through them. Ninth in carries, or fourth with 9 carries of 15 yards or more. First with 5 carries of 40 yards. First with 4 carries of 50 yards. And ninth with 28 first downs. Power stats, explosive stats, scoring stats, cumulative stats, everything. This dude is a top 10 running back in the nation across the board. And he just keeps doing it. He just keeps doing it every week. And then the reason to point it out this week in particular, Wisconsin was allowing 50 yards per game coming in. And they had played a couple of Power 5 teams, Alabama and Maryland. Now, not like Maryland runs the ball a lot, but Alabama can at times. They were holding teams to 50 yards a game. Justice's second carry of the day went for 43 yards. He had 54 yards after one drive. He finished with 117. The team finished with 175 or right around there. I mean, this is a team that can run the ball. And I was worried about that through 2 weeks, but offensive line is gelled. Bryce has given him another element, and Justice Haynes just continues to rumble. And then I'd say the last thought, and then you can hit us with the closing thoughts, is Rod Moore is unlocking this defense. You talk about the front seven, and the front seven is fierce. But Rod Moore on that back end, even not quite yet 100%, but just his presence and his knowledge, I mean, it is really, really something to behold. There were 3 plays that really caught my eye in this game. The first one, early in the first quarter, Wisconsin's running, rolling to the right. They're throwing a delayed screen back left. There's about 50 yards of green grass with some blockers getting ready to set up this delayed screen. Rod Moore at PBU just breaks it up in the backfield, forces a punt. Later, late first half, it's 10-7 Michigan. Wisconsin is right at midfield. They run a double reverse. All of Michigan's defense is flowing one way, except Rod Moore, who beeline, just takes a straight dive and drives right at this ball carrier, makes another open field tackle. And that could have gone for 20, 30. Wisconsin might have been in the red zone, but instead it's a 6-yard gain. Michigan forces a punt, no harm, no foul. And then, of course, everybody saw it at the end of the game, the interception. In some ways, to me, that was actually the least impressive play, not because he didn't do a great center field and do what Rod Moore does and running under the ball, but Jair Hill committed such an egregious pass interference on that play. It prevented the wide receiver from getting back. I think maybe Rod Moore would have still been able to come away with it. I just don't know how far the wide receiver would have come back. So for my money, the other 2 plays were even better. But the fact that he's been back for 2 weeks after not seeing the field in 20 months, and he has 3 notable big-time plays, it is just, this guy, he's, as Sharon Moore said, he's different. And we've known that for years, right? Rod Moore is different.
Huge addition, no doubt. One final note here. If you want to talk about value, you're starting I think Sharon officially started it. You're extending the Justice Haynes for Heisman train here. 55-1 right now on FanDuel, if you want some value there. And as someone who got Travis Hunter at 40-1 last year in the Heisman.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, I got to work it in when I can.
You have to plug that.
Got to work on the wins because obviously they've seen my picks. They know I'm not too great at picking the game. So when you get a win, you got to talk about it. It's a heck of a ride if you want to get in on the Heisman game. Might not be as fun if you're invested in the team personally because it might be a little more personal. But when I, just as an unbiased viewer watching the Colorado team last year with Travis Hunter and all the plays, it was a roller coaster and a lot of fun.
And Justice Haynes does not have to win the Heisman for you to make money, right? I mean, take it at 55-1. By the time it gets up to 10-1 or if it does, right? 15-1, 20-1, you can cash out. You could throw a couple shekels on a few favorites at that time in case you don't understand how sick of my friends get. Mr. Hedge, Mr. Hedge, Mr. Hedge. Hey, slow and steady wins the race. You just gotta one step at a time.
Even I hedged last year.
But you still got to get in early. I'm all about getting in early. And then I'm just looking for places to hedge, right? Like a tiger's ladder. You know what I mean? Like, not that we bet on our own teams, but hypothetically, right?
Yes, of course. So, all right, let's get to a quick break here. We'll be back with a huge preview for USC on the other side. Welcome back, everybody. We get to preview one of the games of the week in college football this weekend. Michigan at USC at the Coliseum, 7:30 p.m. kickoff on NBC. Should be a great game. USC and Michigan, very contrasting styles, but obviously both teams have dropped one game. Michigan dropped early to Oklahoma. USC dropped early, or more recently, to Illinois. But in a lot of ways, these teams are inverse of each other. So, Tony, what are you style-wise watching in this game?
Whose style wins, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. In my opinion, USC is a fantastic offense and a solid defense, or a good defense. Michigan is a fantastic defense and a good, solid offense, right? So they often say defense wins championships, and not this is a championship, but you can break that down to any game. So in a way, like so often, the better defense can slow down the better offense. So you got to feel good about that if you're Michigan. But again, this is in LA. So that's not nothing. And something I thought was very interesting is, and I wrote about this on Freep.com, is Michigan sort of learned a lesson from last year, going to Washington. Michigan always travels out historically wherever they're going, the day before the game. So it's Friday at some point, usually Friday morning, even if it's a Saturday night game, noon game, whatever, they go out on Friday morning, fly in. They'll do a tour of the stadium, see wherever they're going to play, team dinner, get to the hotel, rest up, ball game the next day. Sharon said he felt like the team was a little groggy against Washington. 5-hour flight, 3-hour time change. Then you're playing what feels like a night game in your body at 7:30, but really it's a late afternoon tip. But Andrew, we've both gone to the West Coast a number of times. That first day you wake up in the West Coast, you can't help but wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., right? Because it feels like 9 or 10 in your body on that first night. And so then when you fly out on Friday and then you wake up at 6 a.m., you're waiting all day. You're waiting 10 hours. You know what I mean? So they're giving themselves one extra day just to acclimate, to adjust. They're playing at the Bolt, which is the Chargers practice facility. The Chargers will be in Miami. Obviously, tons of Michigan ties there. Harbaugh, Klingscale, Minter, etc. And so Sharon's calling it Michigan West, which I thought was cute. That's fun. Although, it kind of is. Huge Michigan contingent in Los Angeles. Obviously Michigan has fans all over the country, but LA and Chicago might be the biggest two, and New York. Those are the three biggest. Funny, the biggest fan base. The fan base is in the three biggest cities, but not every Big Ten school could say that, right? Like I don't know that Ohio State has they have a very, very big fan base. I don't know that they have pockets like that in New York and in LA. Right. I think Michigan fans.
I think it's a Michigan to LA situation. Like Michigan State has a pretty big contingency out in LA as well. From if you've ever been out for the basketball game, there's a lot of LA people for those games this year. And then the Rose Bowl, of course, years ago. There's just a lot of LA people. But I don't think Michigan State has the New York City element, right? They have Chicago and LA, but they don't have all three big like Michigan does.
Yeah, and not as many in all of them, I would say. Even when it is big And my Michigan's got, DC, even and not to the same extent, but Atlanta, there are people down south. As we know, Michigan fans are everywhere. So, but the point of the matter was just that early travel out. And I think that's going to be a really big factor, in this game, as well as stylistically. And I'll just go through a couple of the numbers here real quick. So, USC, their offense is legit. Number 2 in the nation in total offense, 565 yards a game. Number 1 in yards per play, just more than 8.5 yards per play. But they haven't really been tested. The best defense they've seen, and this is not a good defense, is Michigan State. Statistically, ranked number 68th in total yards, allowing 360 yards a game. Now, part of this gets skewed because these teams have to play USC. So then their defensive numbers look even worse, right? Because USC runs it up on everybody. So, but still, that's, the facts are the facts. And in terms of yards per play, no defense, the best defense they'd seen is Illinois. And that's barely a top 100 yards per play defense, at 97, giving up averaging 5.18 yards per play against. Now, they had to play USC, and they got boat raced by Indiana that one day. So with only 5 games, that skews the numbers.
Not a great defense, though.
But Michigan will be the toughest test in that regard, right? So because Michigan's number 18 in total defense, number 14 in yards per play. And then on the other side, Michigan is number 36 in total offense, top 20 in yards per play. And they've already faced, and that is already with facing some solid teams. They played Oklahoma, who's number 1 in yards per game and yards per play allowed, less than 200 yards per game. And they also faced number 11 Nebraska and number 40 Wisconsin. USC comes in at 68, right? So Michigan has won. They lost the Oklahoma game, but they beat Nebraska, beat Wisconsin. They have beat some decent teams. USC hasn't really beat a decent team yet. Now, I would say I didn't move off the Illinois bandwagon just because of what happened in Indiana. And I think them beating USC at home was a good, solid win. If that game's on the West Coast, USC might get that one. And so it's just, we don't have quite enough data points, but we're formulating them, right? We're tabulating them. And if you just look, you dig into the numbers a little bit, there's reason to think that Michigan could come out of this one successful.
Yeah, it's a huge pendulum game for USC too, right? They have Notre Dame next game after Michigan. And then at the end of the season, they've got Oregon and before UCLA. So that if they don't beat Michigan, their chances of making the college football playoff are essentially going to come down if they can beat both Oregon and Notre Dame, right? So this is a huge game for them too. And that's probably not going to happen. But if they beat Michigan, then, we kind of have to reevaluate. Maybe this team is better than we thought, right? So the thing I like about this matchup, game time wise and stuff, is Saturday night, 7:30, fairly normal times, right? That's about as good of a cross country matchup as you're going to get. USC off a bye after having all that travel. Michigan with the noon start the game before, so they were wrapped up and all done by about 5:00 the Saturday before. So they do have those things working for as far as we're going to get a good, fair. Let's not bring the coast into it as much as possible for a game like this, right? Outside of not traveling out west, this is about as fair and equal as it could be. So that's a good thing. And yeah, like you said, this is going to be the toughest offense that, I guess, Oklahoma was a true test, but that was just so early in the season. I feel like this Michigan team has taken another step since then, right? So this will be another test for Michigan, having Rod Moore back, having Jayshon Barham in the right role, really dominating off the edge. This is a better Michigan defense than it was in week 2. So that should be interesting as well, and something we'll have to watch.
And I would argue that that Oklahoma team is so John Mateer powered. I would say that USC might have better weapons outside of it, right? Tony Blaylock was the leading rusher for Oklahoma, who is okay. Jaden Ott really hasn't done anything like they thought he would. And then, maybe it was Isaiah Satenga or Deion Burks for USC, but not really USC is kind of a different animal. Jaden Maiava has been just fantastic this year. He has 1 interception, 1 turnover. He's completing 70% of his passes, throwing for 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns. And here's something to watch. They're doing a good job protecting him. 3 sacks all year that USC is allowed. We know how much Michigan gets after the quarterback, right? They had 7 sacks against Nebraska. So something's got to give there. So that would be a key number to watch for sure. But it's not just Maiava. Waymon Jordan Their running back, he's not quite Justice Haynes, but he's not that far off. He's averaging 7 yards a carry, 537 yards this year, 5 touchdowns. I mean, this dude is a load. This dude is like, he doesn't have quite the same home run speed. Like his longest run this year is 40 yards, but he gets it done and he moves the ball. And I don't know that you could say the most dangerous weapon because Michigan has Justice Haynes. I would put Haynes and this guy as some version of 1A, 1B. Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver, this guy is a dog. A straight dog. 35 grabs for 589 yards and 5 touchdowns in 5 games. I mean, so far this year, he has 90 yards, 158, 63 off game against Purdue, 127 and 151. His last 2 games, he has 278 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns with 19 catches. That is really, Michigan's been susceptible through the air this year. There's just no doubt about that. So shutting him down. And don't forget about Jacoby Lane. Jacoby Lane's a great weapon too. So this is a tough task.
Yeah. And you've been a critic of Lincoln Riley, rightfully so, during his time in LA the last few years. But this is, watching them, I watched the Illinois-USC game pretty closely, but I really, of course, was locked into the Michigan State-USC game for my job as an editor. Watch Michigan State, watch Michigan. It's part of the gig. You really lock in, right? And this is the first time where I felt like, okay, when Michigan State tries to take away the run, Lincoln Riley's offense is going to hit you through the air. And when you try to take away the pass, you're like, let's go 7, 8 DB or, 7, 8, pass defenders and really try to take away the pass. They'll run it right up the middle with Wayman Jordan, right? Like that's the first time with USC that I felt like that they were not like one-dimensional on offense, right? Because even the offense with Caleb Williams and some of those early successful years, they were really reliant on Williams to create, dominate through the air. I'm telling you, if Michigan doesn't make USC one-dimensional, that's going to be the key to this game. They're going to have to try to, I'm sure they're going to try to do that by taking away the run, right? Like every team tries to do, and make you try to beat you through the air, right? But if Michigan can't take away the run, or maybe USC will open with a lot of pass and try to then reverse establish the run. That's going to be, you could say that about almost any game, but whether or not Michigan is able to make USC one-dimensional is what's going to determine this game.
That's the phrase. Michigan makes its money by making teams one-dimensional. You have to beat us this way. Then they'll funnel you into spots that they want you, or they'll allow you to get the ball, and then they'll gang tackle. That's what they do.
Real quick, I want to just add on to that because that is so spot on. Remember last week's game? By the third quarter, Wisconsin's passing offense was beyond hopeless because Michigan was sitting and camping on those short routes and just breaking the second they saw, because they had no threat of a deep pass, because Michigan's pressure was forcing Wisconsin to get the ball out quickly. Well, then the DBs are able to sit there and be like, hey, there's no threat over our head. And they were just breaking on that ball. And Wisconsin had literally no chance, right? So that was something I noticed last week. I was like, holy crap. Like it was literally helpless, completely no chance.
And it's all by design. It's all by design. Wink Martindale does this as well as anybody. And just to the other point, I have been hard on Lincoln Riley for the loyal podcast listeners of the last 2 years we've been doing this. But I think he was really more just kind of catching strays, because my real ire was towards Caleb Williams, who I think is a horrendous leader. I don't care that you're talented. Just awful demeanor. I would never want him as the quarterback of one of my teams, no matter how good he is. And so far, that's aged pretty well into the NFL. I could be wrong, but I like Jaden Daniels more. I like Drake May more, and I stand by that wholeheartedly. And then it was Alex Grinch. This guy. I think the Grinch could have called a better defense than Alex. That was horrendous what they did a couple years ago. And so Danton Lynn, now in year 2, he's really turned a corner. And there's no reason USC shouldn't be loaded with talent, right? You are in the hotbed of all hotbeds outside of Texas, Georgia, Florida. It's LA, which is where there's just, one of the best high school football leagues in the country. And you have the brand, you got the money, the resources, everything. Everything you could need is there. And so how about, Michigan and USC playing in Los Angeles? We've seen that before a lot, but what we haven't seen is playing at the Coliseum, not since 1957. Obviously, when they played, they've met 8 times in the Rose Bowl. USC all time leads the series 6-5. So the Wolverines looking to tie it all time. Obviously, they got the win last year, 27-24, thanks to the closest thing I've seen in person to a beast mode run. That was Kalel Mullings.
Isn't it funny? Like, I felt like it was the stereotype when we were kids. Like, Michigan and USC, they play all the time in the Rose Bowl, right? They play all the time. They only played 11 times in history. Does that include all the Rose Bowls?
Yes.
That feels low to me, doesn't it?
Well, 8 of them are in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that's a lot of Rose Bowl matchups.
I know, but I mean, some of these are like the 50s and 60s too, right? So there had to have been, multiple 20, 30-year gaps where they didn't play each other. It just feels like a matchup that would happen more than it has. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, they kind of came in bunches. So it was 76 and 78. It was 88 and 89. It was 03 and 06. And then it was last year. And then also in Bo Schembechler's first year in Ann Arbor in 69. And then it was 57, 58. I mean, really every 10 years. So 47, 57, 69, 76, 78, 88, 89, 03, 06. So the only decades they didn't meet were in the 90s and in the 10s, the 2010s.
So more like 15-year gaps in between some of these games. Yeah. And then a lot of 10s. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess so basically once a decade, they're usually good for matchup in the Rose Bowl, but obviously they're in the same conference now. So they'll be playing twice. Is it twice every 4 years? Is that how they're doing it?
Yep. So they will not see each other in 26 or 27.
Okay. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with our picks, including our predictions for this game. And I'm interested to hear your case, Tony, for how this one goes. So we'll get to that one on the other side of the break. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us this long. We've got our picks now, of course, where Tony likes to remind everyone that he's got a 17-13 lead over my 15-15 record so far through 30 games. I did pick up one game on him last week. Tony, I guarantee I'm not even going to I'm just going to preface it now. I know that the bad beat calls are coming in, so just get them out of the way now. Tell us why you had some bad beats last week.
I think we did. So we had Michigan minus 16.5 against Wisconsin. They're up 17 late. Wisconsin they're trying to score a touchdown. Then they get sacked on third down. So it's 4th and long. They can't do anything but kick a field goal. And then they cover. Michigan recovers the onside kick. If Wisconsin stops them on third down, they will bring Savannah on to kick the field goal to go up. But instead, they give up just enough first downs and just enough yards for Michigan to get to the 1 yard line. And then they call off the dogs and they don't punch it in. So that was brutal, but not as brutal as Vanderbilt, which you would have got as well. So I'm not saying that's just a me thing. But both of us got hosed on that one. I mean, Vandy plus 11.5, 10.5, whatever it was. And Alabama up 9, running the ball out, 17 seconds left. And Ryan Williams houses like a 25 yard run when they're just trying to, just ending the game, just trying to move the sticks one more time. And they didn't even need to. It was 4th and 2. So they were just trying to get to victory formation, and he takes it the whole way. So just horrendous. Felt like I should have been 4-0 going into the nightcap, and we were 2-2, and then Florida State lost. But that was the first losing week of the year on this side, and 2-3. So it could be worse. I'm a little nervous about this week. I got to be honest.
I feel I like this week a lot better than you do. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get to our picks in a second. Let's just open with Michigan-USC because we've made the people wait long enough for that. I want you to share not just your spread pick, but also your prediction. How do you think this game goes? How does Michigan win it? How does Michigan lose it? And what do you think ultimately happens?
Michigan wins it by winning the turnover margin. They're just so good at getting more possessions, getting more advantageous field position. And also they need to be better at possessing the ball, converting third downs at a higher rate. They've not been a great third down conversion team this year. And so I think those two things, just ball control and turnovers. I mean, that's in my mind. I mean, other than winning in the trenches, which is a given, that's 80% of the battle in most games. It's just dictating the terms of engagement, right? Because both teams have weapons, both teams have good players, and there will be plays made on both sides. But if you're able to just sort of control things a little more, they win it. But I am going to say, and I'll probably end up kicking myself for doing this, I'm going with USC in this one. So far, I mean, we've gotten them all, picked them all right so far this year, but it's just, and Michigan is doing a good job. I applaud them, and I really support the decision to go out on Thursday. There is just something about going out west that is really tough. This year, teams going east to west, are 5-5. So that's actually really good. You know what they were last year, Andrew? I don't know if you saw the stat in my piece the other day. 28 games. What's your guess?
12-16.
6-22. 6-22.
Is that against the spread or straight up?
That is straight up. That was straight up for the win. And so Michigan could cover and still lose this game because for just the second time this year, they are underdogs. I don't know if we laid that out. I might have missed it. Michigan 2.5-point dogs at USC. And so I just think this offense for USC is a little more potent. Bryce Underwood has progressed, but they were very bad at Oklahoma. And yes, they did enough to win at Nebraska. Nebraska has loser DNA. And I don't care that they beat a lousy Michigan State team at home to go to 4-1. Michigan State has whatever is worse than loser DNA right now. So I have not been, and Wisconsin, and that was a 10-7 game against a Wisconsin team with a third string quarterback coming off a bye. Right.
I wanted to add this. That's for the record. That's why I thought it wasn't a bad beat for Michigan, Wisconsin. That's why I thought it wasn't a bad beat because Michigan, it was 10-7 with like 2 minutes left in the third, or 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Right. So, I mean, it was close game. It was a close game.
Yeah. It finished right. It finished right in that window. It should have been 17 or 14. It could have gone either way. And from my vantage, it was a bad beat. So what are you going to do? But I'll wrap this up. I'm going to go with USC. Michigan just has not. Obviously they won the Ohio State game last year and the Alabama game last year. So I guess you can't say they haven't won big games under Sharon Moore, but the season was already kind of written at that point. I need to see last year, Michigan was 4-1 going west and everything unraveled. They went 1-4 the next five games. Michigan insists things are different this year. Prove it. Prove me wrong and prove it and go win this game.
I'm going on the opposite side. Not necessarily because I think Michigan is a markedly better team than USC. I think they're kind of at right. Where were they in your power rankings? Pretty much back to back, right? 5 and 6 or?
Yep. 5 and 6. Michigan 5. If this game is in Ann Arbor, I'm definitely picking Michigan, just for the record.
But I think they're in the same ballpark, right? But I like Michigan's style, which I touched on earlier, in a fight against a team with a completely different style. If there's anything that Jim Harbaugh taught us when we're, watching him in Ann Arbor, it was that ball control, running the ball, and really good defense usually matches up well with pretty much any style. And, for all that we can talk about, and I talked about USC being more balanced and really being able to hit you in both directions, they're an offensive style, ultimately score type team, and their defense is competent. But if we're saying that these two teams are equal, we're essentially stating that, the defense for Michigan and the offense for USC are around the same because those are the strengths for both sides. And if I'm picking a battle between the two teams, I'm going to go with the defense and the ball control side. When Michigan, you mentioned last year, headed west, 4-1, that's when Alex Orji was their quarterback, right? This time, Bryce Underwood is their quarterback, and I'm not going to say he's, a Heisman contender or one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but he's doing his job, threw for 270 and what was essentially a slog last week, right? That was not easy. And I was, maybe the 270 was a little misleading because they did struggle to move the ball consistently, but he still threw for 270 yards.
He was 4 of 9 for 55 yards at the half. It was all second half. It was all second half. So it was not as beautiful as the line indicated by any means.
Right. And I'm not saying that, but that just shows he doesn't need to be perfect, right? So all in all, I'm taking Michigan in the points. This is probably the game I'm the least confident in because I truly think it's a coin flip, right? It's 2.5 points. That's, a field goal either direction, right? So that should be right in that zone. And I like Michigan and their ball control style to steal one at USC, who you mentioned, maybe they don't have loser DNA like you've so-called declared Nebraska having, but they've not exactly been lights out in these close games, even at Illinois, right? So they had every chance to win that game and didn't do it. So I'm going to go with Michigan to nab that one.
Speaking of loser DNA, this is not on our pick sheet. Nebraska is losing at Maryland this weekend. I just want you all to know right now, Nebraska is losing at Maryland this weekend. So there were too many good games for it to make our card, but just know that.
They had no business winning that game by whatever they want. It was like they were up by 17 points at one time and Michigan State was up 21-14 over heading into the fourth quarter or right around the fourth quarter. And then it just wheels blew off. It was not Nebraska dominating that game. Michigan State was double blasting each foot with both hands, both guns in each foot. It was like really took themselves out of that game.
I need to find my phrase for them. Like I've coined Nebraska loser DNA. I really need one for MSU. What I've said is beyond loser DNA because I can't even quantify it. It's that bad.
Yeah. It's not as back when Do you remember that one game when Michigan State was like dominating Notre Dame? I'm talking like mid to early 2000s, and Kirk Herbstreit was on the call, and he was like, "This is what Michigan State does." This is all before D'Antonio, right?
I know the call. I don't know the game, but I know the call.
Yeah, and it was just like that was kind of what it kind of feels like. Michigan State's falling back towards that to a certain degree, right? Because they can look the part for even the USC. They were down by 7 points at one point in that late in the third quarter. It's just like, and then he just boom, all falls apart. So we'll see. Maybe Jonathan Smith can pull off his Mark D'Antonio tricks and stop doing some of that stuff. But right. I don't think it's heading in that direction.
Hell no, not a chance.
I mean, it didn't look pretty. I mean, what was D'Antonio in his first 2 years? 7-6 and 7-6 or something like that. I mean, it wasn't like Michigan State was immediately a contender under D'Antonio, right?
He didn't get to bring half a roster with him from a Power 5 school and have the portal.
Yeah, neither do the other teams in the country, though.
You're giving them too much respect. I
just said that they're sleeking back towards John L. Smith there. I mean, I'm not. I said maybe
this should be John L. Smith. I know. This is John L. like Loser Smith. Like that was John L. Smith. This is John Loser Smith. Both John L's, different type.
The fan base in East Lansing is not thrilled because there's no excitement either. There's no likability. There's no juice. It's got to turn around fast.
Right, we've talked about them far too long.
Let's move on. Alabama at Missouri at noon. Alabama only a 2.5 point favorite. That kind of surprised me. So I went with the Crimson Tide in this one because you want to know why? I picked against them the last 2 weeks, and I'm done doing that. So I'm going with Alabama. Ty Simpson looks like the real deal, and that's all I need to know. I picked against him 2 weeks in a row. I've watched him 2 weeks in a row make my bets look silly, so I'm done with that.
Well, they barely got it done. I mean, that was a BS cover against Vanderbilt, to be clear. Vanderbilt was on the right side of the number the whole way.
They were clearly the better team, though. They were the better team,
but they're also at home. And you know my theory, Andrew, and it's not my theory, but a theory I subscribe to as well. And all the great coaches know it. It is difficult to get up emotionally and get up emotionally and get up emotionally. To go from Georgia to a Vandy team that you wanted to exact revenge on. And now you're going to sleepy Columbia, Missouri. Oh, the Tigers haven't beat anybody. It's Missouri. I mean, they're no good. They're they're 5-0.
They're 14th in the nation, to be fair.
Yeah, but their wins are Central Arkansas, Louisiana, UMass, and then Kansas and South Carolina are their best wins. Well, I mean, they don't have a Georgia. Like, they have not beat a notable team yet until this week. Missouri upsets the Tide in what is the biggest game in Missouri, and it's got to be over a decade, right? I mean, just couldn't be a bigger spot. If you don't know, now you know. We're talking about Justice Haynes. Ahmad Hardy is the other best running back, power conference running back in the nation. Bro has 730 yards and 9 touchdowns. I mean, he is a beast. Bo Prabula is a nice quarterback, throwing for 1,200 yards. I mean, 75% completions. I mean, not going to wow you, not a ton of arm talent, but just solid. Been there. He's learned. I think he's an upperclassman now, right? Yeah, he's a senior.
Well, he was the Penn State transfer, right? He was on.
Yes.
Maybe Penn State should have kept him instead of Drew Aller.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and that's why he's a little bit of a check down, Charlie, but if you're going to protect it and James Franklin's not your coach, you got a better chance. So, I mean, that's really all I got to say about it. The Tide got to keep getting up emotionally. Big spot for Missouri, and maybe Alabama walks them off with a game-winning field goal when they're down by 1, and then Missouri covers with 2.5. So, Missouri.
All right, let's move on. And I will be quicker myself on these because we wasted way too much time talking about John L. Smith and John Smith and Jonathan Smith and all the John Smiths out there. So we'll buzz through some of these. Ohio State at Illinois. The Buckeyes are a 14.5 point favorite. Tony, who do you like in this one?
As president of the Luke Altmaier fan club, I will be taking Illinois. I don't care. 14.5, that's a lot of points. Ohio State's defense has been fantastic. I mean, I'm never going to apologize to Matt Patricia, but I'll acknowledge that I should owe him an apology. I'm not going to give it. But they've been the best defense in the nation by so far in every metric, in every regard. And Illinois has already fallen on its face once in a big game, but that was on the road. That was at Indiana. This is a huge spot. This is a huge spot. And Illinois' defense, I mean, is okay, not great. But I mean, Luke Altmaier, 1,500 all-purpose or passing yards, 12 touchdowns, not a turnover to be found. And for my money, if I was voting on on an official All-American like mid-season panel, Hank Beatty would be my all-purpose player. Dude has caught 2 touchdowns. He's run for a touchdown. He's thrown for a touchdown. He's returned a punt for a touchdown. This guy is a dynamic athlete. And Illinois has just been better in recent years, right? Like, they are a good team. This is not the Illinois we all associate it with. I said I'd be quick. I couldn't be. I love Luke Altmaier too much. So, because I mean, I claimed him early before this year when it was popular to hate him. And I felt like I kind of stuck my neck out for someone I have absolutely no attachment to. And now he's endeared himself into my heart. So Illinois to cover.
I liked him last year. And he was kind of up and down, but he showed some flashes last year too. So I hear you. This one's not, I didn't even have to think about this one. Ohio State's defense has been so good that they've held the 2 Big Ten teams they've played till 9 points. Illinois' defense is a real problem. So if we're assuming that Illinois' defense is not going to hold Ohio State to anything less than 24, 31, 34, somewhere in that range, there's no way they're getting the points to stay in that game. So I'm going with Ohio State minus 14.5. I'm really not even that worried about it. I think what have we seen that would indicate that Illinois is going to get more than 10 to 14 points against this defense? Is their offense that much better than Washington's? You were high on the Washington offense before they got held to 6 points, right?
I was. They had 6. They threw up a stinker, and then they looked like they had just completely lost their way at Maryland before, but that was travel and all that. But Robin, if you could clip that, the quote, "I'm not really worried about it," and then we can just cycle it back after Illinois covers it.
Like one of those buttons on the radio show.
27-13, Ohio State. Big, comfortable win, enough for Illinois to cover.
See, that's what you need. You need it right on the. You need it right on the button to even to have a chance. I mean, if this thing is not 27-13, I don't see a path.
If Illinois can score 7. Illinois can score 17 points.
Okay. And you're telling me that Ohio State can't score 34 with that defense, helping them maybe get a score themselves? I mean,
they held USC to 32, and USC is a better offense than Ohio State is for sure.
Did you say held them to 32?
I mean,
32 is a pretty dang good offensive.
Here, real quick. I mean, let me see how many points USC has scored in every week. I think that was literally a season low for USC. 73, 59, 33, 45, 32. That's the fewest.
Okay. I'll grant you held them to 32, but you have to admit, still not a great offensive showing.
We're using the word held very loosely.
Not a great defensive showing from Neil on that.
Rapid fire these last 2.
Oregon is a 7.5 point favorite. Hosting Indiana. I said a couple weeks ago when Illinois and Indiana were playing, I like Indiana when they're playing teams who are not a huge physical advantage over them. And when they're not, I think they get rolled. Sticking with that mindset here, I like Oregon with the 7.5. All
right. You're giving me a little more confidence. I also picked Oregon. I really hated this number. I mean, 7.5. It just, you can feel, I see the cheese or the bait on the hook, and I'm just taking it, and they're about to hook me. But I'll take the Ducks at home. This win will solidify them really in the Big Ten championship game, and then as for a bye week for all the things. So Oregon.
Yeah, it's a weird number, but I think some of these games are best when you don't overthink them, right? So speaking of overthinking, we had about a 10-minute debate about this before the show started. Oklahoma and Texas, the Sooners are a 1.5 point underdog, playing at the Cotton Bowl, where they play every year for this game. John Mateer, who Michigan fans, of course, know, status is up in the air. It sounds like he's saying he wants to go. Venables is not committing to it. So we've kind of, let's just put this one down with a star next to it. And, if something that we agree crappy happens, it's our podcast, right? So with that being said, I'm rolling with the Sooners. I just think Texas isn't good and Oklahoma is good. So that's the end of my analysis.
Yeah, no, it's decent analysis. I've talked, not intentionally, but just as we talk these out, I take 3 times maybe Andrew's come over to my side. And then this is not like a good thing, bad thing. It's just sort of factual. And I'm really hard-headed. And so I don't really like to, it's like when you bubble in an answer on the Scantron, then you erase it and you go to the other one. It's always the one. Like by the time I was a junior in high school, I learned whatever I put down first, I'm sticking with. Because even if I'm wrong, I'd be more sick if I got it wrong and changed it to it. So I'm really hesitant to go over. And I did pick Texas originally, but even the possibility of John Mateer playing is enough to tempt me. And you're getting a great side of the number right now. If he does play, that thing will swing. So, and even if they don't, Texas is trash. I mean, objectively, the only game I didn't have to sweat last week was Florida, Texas. That was the easy, that was free money. They were handing it out at like an all you can eat buffet. So yeah, Texas is garbage. Arch Manning is terrible. They honestly should consider benching him. And Steve Sarkisian is just kind of scummy, kind of a loser. So, and now I could say it without it sounding like I was rooting against Michigan. When I was at Norman, I wanted to say Boomer Sooner just because it sounds cool so often. But I'm like, okay, well, that's like, you can't just say that. But this week you can. Boomer Sooner.
All right. That'll do it for our picks. Thank you for sticking with us this long. Thank you to our editor, Bill Bradley, the sports editor. Thank you to our editor-in-chief, Nicole Avery-Nichols. And thank you to Robin Chan, of course, who edits the podcast. But most of all, thank you to you guys for listening to the podcast week in and week out. If you made it this far, we really, really appreciate it. Really fun talking to Tony every week and just spitting college football. So it's a great time. And thank you for sticking with us. We'll be back next week after this declared pendulum game for Michigan against USC. We should know a lot more about where this season is heading after a massive game in Los Angeles. So we will talk to you guys in a week.